Look, subsidy in itself, I mean, every government anywhere in the world pays subsidy for one item or the other. But the problem I have with the Nigerian subsidy scheme that is ensured in a lot of scam and fraud and corruption. And now you cannot be paying subsidy from your cash cow. It's just like somebody, you are working and from your income, you continuously give to charity. You definitely want to use from your income to do investment, and from your investment, you begin to give to charity. So if you continue to give from your income to charity, it will come a point that you will not have again to even give to the charity or even have enough income to spend on your home. So that's the challenge we had in Nigeria, especially during the 8 years time of President Muhammad Buhari. With subsidy was paid, kept increasing. At the last time before he left, subsidy went to as high as 6 trillion we're going to pay in a year. And it's embroiled in a lot of scam, whereby you don't know, you say 66 million liters, we consume 60 million liters. Out of the 60 million liters, about 30 million liters are taken out of the shore of this country through smuggling. You see, when you look at the subsidy, every government in the world, like I said, pays subsidy. But you pay subsidy on productive sector, because that would have a snowball effect on your government. I'll give you an example. Kenya. When the president of Kenya came in, he did exactly what Bola Tinubu had just done. He announced that subsidy on PMS will go, that the government will no more subsidize on petroleum product. But he promised to do subsidy on diesel, because he said most of the industry make use of diesel. So by subsidizing in diesel, that will bring down the cost of goods and services, and that will help most people to be able to get some of these goods into their house at a lower rate. But still, the Kenya people, because most of them are into transportation, they are moving off from point A to point B, was largely driven by petroleum, by cars that use petrol. So what did they do? The Labour Congress, the people went on a protest, and the government said, you know what, we'll still have to look at it this way. It came together and they said, look, we are going to reduce tariff on importation of goods that are mostly used by Kenyans. So they bring down the tariff, and that brings down the cost of goods and services. And once the cost of goods and services came down, inflation naturally came down. And then Kenya is stable. And so the money they used to pay in petroleum subsidy, they are now using it to develop key infrastructure, social investment, healthcare, and education. That's why I think the subsidy scheme in Nigeria should go, but government should also look at areas that they can pay subsidy for Nigerians. And when you talk about subsidy, everybody says, oh, subsidy is only for the poor, but even the rich also need subsidy, because the poor are working for the rich. So if you are not paying the rich subsidy, then they will not be paying the poor good salary too. So we must look at subsidy as something that everybody should enjoy. America does that. They pay subsidy. They pay subsidy in terms of subsidy both to the rich and the poor. In terms, maybe they'll say, okay, this is your income level, we'll pay you this amount, but if you're that's income level, we give this amount to you. So it's all part of subsidy payment. Every government in the world pays subsidy, but they don't pay subsidy from their cash cow. Our greatest earning power is the NNPC, is the cash cow, and our greatest product that we use to earn effects into our country is our petroleum product, crude oil. So why should what we gain in terms of crude oil sale, we lose it in terms of refined petroleum product? So that is why I, for one thing, subsidy should go. But then government should look at another area they could pay subsidy for. In Ghana also, they've removed subsidy on petroleum product. But what did the government do? The government decided to pay subsidy for each household in terms of electricity subsidy. And that reduced the cost. So we must begin to look at creative way of paying subsidy, so that I'm just giving it to some bunch of people that just enjoy it alone and begin to become build a cartel on it and don't want us to stop. So I'm total support of removal of subsidy in petroleum product, but subsidy should be channeled into other productive sector that will have an impact on the life of every Nigerian. Realize that for the past 1 year, NNPC have not been able to remit a single dime to the Federation account. And that has affected our exchange rate. That has affected state government in terms of revenue to them. And that has also even affected federal government. That, do you know that the federal government of Nigeria is still borrowing to pay salaries? Yes, they borrow to pay salaries. And instead of us making profit with the high cost of crude energy. We are not. Rather, we are losing so much because what we gain in terms of what in crude sell, we lose it in terms of importation of refined petroleum product. So once we start that now, we have removed subsidy. And so what means is that market forces determine prices. And then what will happen? In the long run, the government will be able to earn more FX and will be able to build our reserve and will be able to have more FX to intervene in the market to stabilize our exchange rate. Remember, my first talk was about the exchange rate. This removal of subsidy will help bring stability in the foreign market, especially in the exchange rate between the naira and the dollar. It will also create investment. A lot of people will want to invest in the oil and gas sector, and that also will create employment for Nigeria. Example, the Dangote refinery. It's coming on stream. Dangote refinery is going to employ 140,000 Nigerians, direct employment, and also will also give indirect employment over the tune of 2 million to Nigeria. Those are the type of things that will happen when we remove subsidy. A lot of companies will begin to come into this country to invest in refined petroleum products and also other petroleum products. So that also will begin to create employment, and Nigeria will begin to earn FS. Remember, Dangote also will now be exporting refined petroleum products to other African countries. And remember again, NNPC, a parastatal of the government, has 20% stake in Dangote refinery. So they will be earning FX also that will build our reserve. The CBN governor said that we lose $10 billion every year on subsidy. And so if $10 billion is added to our reserve today, every year, we'll move our reserve from the 30 billion to 40 billion. That is direct. And the CBN will also will attract about $30 billion into our economy. So in a year, what it means that in the next 5 years, what the CBN governor was saying that we attract 30 billion, with that also not inclusive of a 10 billion that we save, and that will bring our foreign reserve to about $80 billion, and that will be able to create stability in the exchange rate, and that will bring a lot of investment, and that will create a lot of jobs for Nigerians. So all these are good policy, but they must be implemented. They must come up with structure so that we don't end up suffering the masses again. Because what we are going to be saving in terms of subsidy is enough to reduce our budget deficit, and also we can use it to invest in social investment. Yes, social investment, agriculture will begin to attract investment in agriculture. Government can begin to look at agriculture in terms of investing in that sector, and then bringing food at a cheaper rate for Nigeria because they will have the resources. Also, we can also begin to look at investment also in other areas, key infrastructure, power. We can begin to look at that also. We can begin to look at our educational sector. We can begin to look at our healthcare sector from the money we get from subsidy. Well, we are no more paying subsidy. Those money will be invested into these sectors, and this will create a snowball effect into Nigeria, and that will create prosperity for Nigeria. So I am in support of subsidy removal, especially in the PMS, but it should be paid in other ways that are very productive and that we can see the benefit on every Nigeria. So what are the opportunities? So what are the opportunities? One better opportunity is that with the removal of subsidy, the petroleum sector is one key area you need to begin to look at to invest. It's either you invest in the petroleum sector as either being a trader in that space, or you be an investor by investing into stocks that are listed in the stock market that are in the oil and gas sector, or you look at startups that want to start oil and gas, and also you as an individual can decide to register and also have your own companies. The Nigerian government have asked that if you want to begin to import petroleum products, you should come and apply for the license, and those licenses will be given to you. So it's a lot of opportunity with the removal of subsidy. Like I always say, don't just listen to the news. What are the opportunities in the news? Take those opportunities, and there are lot of opportunity in the removal of subsidy. Though the pain is much in the short term, but in the long term, it will create prosperity, not only for us, for our own generation yet unborn.